I charge 100 plus an hour for my services. And it wasn't hard until I realized this easy thing that all of you all can apply and you all can start making money. But before I go into how I started charging this much money, you have to understand value. If you were to want to get eggs, for example, right? And in this charge, you pay $30 for those eggs, right? And you can't find those eggs anywhere else, you'll most likely buy it, right? Not because you really love eggs, it just is very valuable and you need it, or maybe your parents need it, or some individual really needs it. So there's a supply and demand. Supply is low, but the demand is high. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna pay a little bit more because eggs are rare, or there's a shortage of eggs, for example. And when I was selling my services of 100 plus an hour, it was for personal training. Like, no one's gonna buy it, that's expensive. I wouldn't buy it. I'm like, why would I pay 100 plus an hour for services if I can find a personal trainer $30 an hour, $40? But this is where value comes. You have to understand, people don't just buy to buy, they buy if they see value. For example, there's impulsive buying, maybe $5 to $50. You know, it ranges. You know, when you just buy something, you're hungry, you just buy it, or you buy that cheap item, you just buy it, right? Because you see some value. But once a price goes a certain like height, let's say 200, 300, you start putting more thought in it, right? And this is where strategy comes in, because when something's expensive, the first thing you be like, no, that's too expensive. I don't care if you're a millionaire or if you make 100,000 or if you make 50,000. You don't want to just pay something expensive and then your bank account goes down, unless you see some type of value or you gain something, whether it's materialistic, whether it's love, whether it's something. And once you see the value, you will buy it. But the good thing or the crazy thing about people, and it's us in general, is like, people are more likely to pay whatever, let's say that $500 in installments, right? Because it feels like they're paying less versus paying more upfront. So let's say, if you understand, let's say you're paying $500 upfront, right? Versus you're paying like $100 for a year, right? If you pay $100 for a year, you're gonna pay like 1,200. But if you pay 500 upfront, you save money. But people are more like, oh, okay, but I want to pay a little bit less. You know, I want to pay little by little, so they can, you know, feel like they have more money. You see how it works. So you have to kind of understand, you have to study the psychology and the reasoning of why people buy things. And once you understand that, you're gonna get way more sales and you're just gonna make more money in general. Like, for example, there was this individual, right? She was lifting weights, her form was horrible, and I corrected it. However, I didn't just correct it, I told her that she really needed personal training. And it was true, I didn't make any lies, because the way that her form was doing, she's gonna hurt herself and she's gonna end up, you know, somewhere if her form is not corrected. And this is from experience. When I started lifting, I hurted myself multiple times and I had to go to physical therapy multiple times. It wasn't until like last year I really started understanding and not really hurting myself. So the woman, she said she didn't have no money, but she still bought my services. And the reason is because I conveyed that she needed it, and that the value of what I'm providing is way more important than the price, right? Yes, money is important, but your health is important. Would you rather pay, let's say you pay $400 up front, right? And you pay it and you lower your chance of getting injured in the gym, or you don't pay no money right now, you feel good, and then you injure yourself and you end up in the hospital. And then hospitals and medicine and health, very expensive in general, especially when you don't have insurance. And let's say you have to go to an emergency room, as you know, or you may not know, it's expensive whether you have insurance or not, especially if you don't have insurance out of pocket. It's so expensive. So money is so simple, right? And here's how you can start really charging people more. Simple, right? You have to first find what you're good at. Find a skill. For example, me, sales, right? Selling, right? Find some type of skill, whether it's drop shipping, whether it's selling, whether it's, buying items and then reselling it for a higher price, making a store, or whatever you're good at. You get good at it. You get, at least a month or 2 months doing it. And then you start making content. You start getting good with the content. And then you start selling services. And then what this is going to do is going to force you to get better. And it's going to count to your years, your months of experience, because you're actively learning. You're actively trying to get better to help as much people as possible. And then the more knowledgeable you get, the more easier it gets to sell. For example, that woman that I sold the item, she said she didn't have money. Just because I was knowledgeable and I gave her a clear way of how I'm gonna help her and what to do to get to her goals. And she told me I felt better, and I'm not making this thing up. She texts me. She's like, oh, thank you so much. I'm feeling better. I'm moving better. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And I even felt good, and she felt good, and she saw the value of it, and she continued, she did all the sessions. I'm like, yeah, you see what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you have to realize people are only gonna buy something from you if it's worth it. If you try to sell something out of desperation, people are not gonna buy it. Right? Think about it. You want that girl, for example, right? Like, I really, really want you. I really want you. She's gonna be repelled because what you're telling her is like you don't have options, no options at all. So you want her so bad. She doesn't want that. She wants the person that's stable, that actually has a future. Versus if you have options and you go talk to her and you're like, oh, you wanna? She's like, and you don't really care. She's more likely. That's the same thing. I even had people tell me, how many clients do you have? And they ask me how much clients do I have, because they don't want to go to the newcomer. They want to go to the person that's already established. They ask me, do you have your certifications? How long have you been doing this? Have you did this in another gym? Have you did this? Have you did this? You see how many questions they're asking, because they're trying to vent who's the best option. Does it feel good? Is this the best time, or is this financially a good investment? And once people see this more as an investment versus as wasting money, people are more like, if you frame something such as, oh yeah, you're gonna spend $500 on me, I'm good. I don't want to spend 500. Who wants to just spend 500 and receive nothing? Versus, I'm gonna invest $500. Invest sounds way better, because that means you're getting something from it, right? In this society, when money is involved, you're always getting something. You're gonna get food, right? You're buying something, right? You give your $20 for some food, some value, so you don't starve yourself, so your body can grow, so you can live. Would you pay a food place $20 just to give them $20? No, and that's how you work. So you just tell people that you're investing, not spending, and this is a way that you can start charging higher prices.